Hi everyone, my name's John Foran. I'm a professor of sociology at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and I have the honor of welcoming you to this nearly carbon neutral conference, which we are calling the UC, University of California, CSU, California State University Knowledge Action Network to transform education on sustainability, climate change, climate justice, and carbon neutrality, which is quite a mouthful. We think of it as the CAN, the Knowledge Action Network. And in addition to welcoming you to this website of talks by the members of the UCCSU CAN, who number about 30, and who have been working together for the past academic year since the fall of 2016 until the present. Now we're in the spring of 2017, to develop out of really from scratch the outlines of an ongoing, hopefully, a knowledge action network that will continue into the future and will grow with the participation of other interested people. The title of my welcoming talk is to ask the question of what is a knowledge action network, and to share with you the experiences I've had with two other sort of embryonic knowledge action networks, which didn't have the name itself, as well as to introduce you to the purpose and to discuss the potential, our hopes, and the possibilities for the development of this knowledge action network, which is devoting itself to the creation, the injection, the imagination of new ways of teaching at every level of formal education, from kindergarten to college, to teach the topics of climate change, climate justice, sustainability, and carbon neutrality, and to do this in innovative ways that cross all of the academic disciplines, the humanities and social sciences, as much as the sciences, and including education, engineering, public health, and so forth, all the disciplines, and to provide materials for teachers to do so in their own settings. We are dealing here with, of course, a hugely important topic, the challenge or the problem or the crisis that humanity faces right now, that is at the center of which is the problem of climate change, is probably the defining existential problem that humanity will face in this century, the 21st century. And so we're aiming big here. We think that these are crucially important issues, and we believe that the formation of a network of people who come from different backgrounds, but who share a common passion for this problem and for the search for solutions, and want to share best practices and ideas and develop through a kind of emergent process new ideas, strategies, approaches in collaboration with others, is the driving force behind our reason to work together in a knowledge action network. Okay, so what is a knowledge action network? What can it be? In our case, we have assembled a group of scholars, of teachers, of scholar activists who work in the University of California system, the 10 campuses, or in the California State University system, which has more than 24 campuses across the state of California. And we quickly discovered that we actually didn't know each other, that there was not a really visible existing network of people in either system, let alone across the two systems, engaged in this kind of work systematically. And so it seemed very valuable to us to attempt this. And what has happened is that in the past 2 months, we have held 4 workshops, regional workshops across the state, 2 in Southern California, 2 in Northern California, at California State University campuses, Fullerton, Northridge, Monterey Bay, and Humboldt State, at each of which we assembled maybe 7 or 8 different people to come together and spend a day and a half together and try and work out mutual interests based on a shared understanding of the current state of climate change and challenges, and our vision of a better future state. And then, of course, the large question of how do we go from where we are to where we'd like to be. So my own experience with working in this kind of work started now 8 or 9 years ago, when I had the opportunity to work with a colleague here at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Now I'm looking for my first slide. This is a very low-tech production here in my living room, as you can see. And together with another scholar at UCSB named Richard Wydick, we created a website for the sharing of analyses of the climate problem. And we called it the International Institute of Climate Action and Theory, or ICAT. You can find it here at www.iicat.org. We are still in existence thanks to Richard's amazing skill and dedication to this website. And on the website, you'll find analyses and materials that we have collected while attending the last 6 now UN climate summits, the annual Congress of the Parties, held for 2 weeks in November and December of each year. And we came together in 2011 and went to Durban, South Africa for COP17, the 17th annual such conference. And there Richard filmed the action, and I interviewed climate activists. And we came back to UCSB and created the website of ICAT. And on that website, we began to put those materials. And we've continued to do that through 5 now subsequent COPs in Doha, Qatar in 2012, in Warsaw, Poland in 2013, Lima, Peru in 2014, and finally COP21, the one at which the Paris Agreement was agreed to by 196 nations in Paris in December 2015. And Richard has since returned to COP22, which took place last year in Morocco, and we have hopes of one or both of us perhaps attending COP23 this coming fall in Bonn, West Germany, under the presidency of Fiji. So Richard, who is not only a skilled filmmaker, videographer, but also a very profound social theorist, has got analyses on that website, and I have got some of the interviews that I've done, particularly with young climate activists from around the world, and some of the accounts illustrated with images that I took from these COPs. And so we think of it as a kind of public sociology, an outward-facing effort to make these materials available to others anywhere in the world, for free, of course, and to constitute a kind of archive or record of the history of the climate justice movement and the climate negotiations themselves. I mentioned Warsaw 2013, COP 18 or 19, COP 19, where I went with 5 students, graduate and undergraduate students from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and where we were delegates inside along with Richard. for those 2 weeks. And because of the presence of my students, we were able to do particularly rich interviews with members of the global youth climate justice movement. In fact, some of the young student scholars who went with me became members of that movement and are to this day. And we came back and we wanted to amplify these voices ourselves. And so we created another website, which is still going today, which is known as the Climate Justice Project. And again, you can find it here at www.climatejusticeproject.org. And there you will see blog posts, analyses, including master's theses, an ebook of interviews conducted in Warsaw, images, other images, and video that has been made by a very talented and tightly knit, hardworking group of scholar activists, faculty, graduate students, undergraduates, and others, now some alumni of UC Santa Barbara, around, again, the global climate justice movement. And it's a second instance, this time involving more people, a collective production of knowledge about this most important movement, social movement. So with these two experiences in my background, I suppose I drew on them in participating with others to create and bring into existence the UC-CSU Knowledge Action Network, the fruits of which you will see as you watch other videos on this website. Each of us was tasked with producing such a video as they best saw fit on some best practice for education or some big idea or future vision of what might be possible. And the way a virtual or nearly carbon neutral conference works is that after opening up this website on Monday, June 12th, 2017, we engaged in 3 weeks of question and answer discussions, much like you would find on the web in comments on a website of any kind. And in this way, we are trying to knit together all 30 of us, because we didn't meet each other, 3/4 of each other at each of the area workshops, so that we can, again, share our ideas, create the possibility for future collaborations around shared interests, which again can cross the system, can cross different institutions, can cross disciplinary boundaries, all of which we think is very important for the kind of education that the students, the people, the citizens of California and the Earth citizens who are going to be at the center of this ongoing climate crisis, and whom we feel should be the center of the solution, or the center at least of our efforts to cope with this crisis and to bring us into a future in the best possible condition. I'm going to conclude with my best slide, which I have here somewhere. It's this one. It's a color slide. It says "Together we can," and it says "Con juntos podemos." And this is a pictogram that was made by, indeed, one of the students, now a former student of PhD, who went with me to Warsaw, Corey Gross. And what you have in this pictogram are key words from a course that she and I just taught that concluded literally yesterday, called The World in 2050. And sustainable development and its alternatives, in which we engage with students in a really, I think, creative and visionary, not so much on our part, but on their part, way, and for which the project, the class project of 90 students, was to form 5-person groups and to work toward a piece of their vision of what the student community adjacent to UCSB, which is a student and immigrant community called Isla Vista, could become. And so they tackled issues of transportation, co-ops, housing, gardening, agriculture, and a whole set of issues in very beautiful ways, and created materials for future group projects in that community to go forward. Again, one example of, I think, a very promising way of conducting education. Certainly very rewarding. And here I'm going to stop thanking you. I'm going to stop by thanking you for attending this conference and for participating in it with us. We're very excited about it. The answer to the question of what is the potential or the possibility of such a knowledge action network, of course, will unfold again in a kind of emergent strategy, the name of a recent book, which inspired the way we facilitated the workshops over coming months and years. And I look very much forward to being part of that with all who want to join us. So thank you very much.